method that he devised was this one, or this one. I don't think that's how you spell it, but I gave it my best shot. And this one in English. So the idea of the word syntropic is that it's the opposite to entropic. Entropic is where things degrade over time. It's the law of thermodynamics, is that things lose their energy. So that the sun has this massive energy potential.
Entropy.
Its energy comes out. We use its heat energy, but there's going to be energy that is used that dissipates over time. I throw a ball, it'll have maximum velocity at some point, and then it'll start to slow down and drop, because it'll lose its energy potential, and we'll have used it up. So the idea in syntropic theory is that even though this is a noticed phenomenon, entropy, throughout the world, when we watch a forest regenerate, it seems to do the opposite. It goes from very simple, no plants, bare land type situation, and it starts to get more and more complex. So it seems to do the opposite to the law of thermodynamics. Life seems to want to complexify itself, to go from simple to more complex. So the theory put forward is that on the basis of entropic theory, we've been running our agriculture into the ground, just as it's like a scientific thing that's going to happen. We're going to lose our energy potential. But then if we start to work with natural methods, we can start to go in the opposite direction. So the word's pretty funky, the concept's pretty cool. Syntropic farming is it's really influenced me next door. In syntropic farming, it's kind of like food forestry market gardening, the way we've done it. They use a combination of annuals, biannuals. Annual is a plant that lives for less than a year. Biannual is a plant that lives less than 2 years. Is it 2 ends or 1?
Two.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
I write it this way.
Yeah.
It looks wrong.
No.
Looks right.
It's right. Yeah.
Okay. Annual. Biannual. And perennial. No less than 1 year. Less than 2 years and more. And 2. So the idea is they're using this in succession, so you're getting a crop straight away. Say, just as a classic example, you plant the radish, you get a harvest of radishes in under a month. But at the same time, you planted artichokes, and you planted pumpkin, and you planted a pomegranate, and you planted peach tree. So the radish will give you a crop in under a month. The pumpkin will give you a crop in under 3 months. The artichoke will give you a crop in under a year. The pomegranate will give you a crop in under 2 years. The apricot will start to give you a crop around 4 or 5. So you've got this succession of income from your land. You've also got organic matter being born from the earth and dying back. So you harvest a radish, leave its leaves. You harvest the pumpkin and leave the plant. You let the pomegranate grow for under 20 years, and then you drop it. So this sort of thing that you're using your harvest as your support species. And then you put in biomass plants that grow really fast, that are appropriate to the soil, and you chop and drop these. This guy's really strict. He uses no irrigation whatsoever. He plants only plants that are relevant to the amount of water and to the soil quality that's there. Not what we've done. And not something I'd be confident in doing. If I was him, I don't know. He's quite he's very well versed. He's been farming since he was 3 in a lot of different climates around the world, and he's just a bit of a genius. He's quite incredible.
What's his name again? That's video or something like that?
Yeah. Do you speak Portuguese?
No.
Well, a lot of his videos are in Portuguese, but some of them are translated. He speaks good Portuguese and Spanish apparently, so a lot of the subtropic stuff is actually in Portuguese or Spanish. So if you know Spanish or Portuguese, awesome. The stuff in English is out there. It's more and more every day, but not as abundant as Portuguese or Spanish at the moment. So the table he uses is he's looking at the light needs of the plant, how much light a plant needs to be happy, healthy, and to produce, and he's looking at the length of time that it's in the system. So he does tables like this. He'll have emergent plants, which are plants that need about 100% sunlight, which is not every plant in agriculture. We would be surprised by the plants that don't need so much sun. An example is grapes and citrus need a lot less sun than we give them. It's why we need to give them so much nutrient and spray them so much, is because they're in a situation that doesn't occur naturally for them. A vine is rarely in full exposure. It's often growing up a tree or growing on something that gives it a bit of shade. So this is the grape, and the shape of the orange is something like this. So then it has a tree that goes something like this above it. So we can kind of see from the shape where it would fit in the forest, but if we can go to its native habitat and look at it, look at where it's thriving, where it's growing well, is it in full sun, is it under the shade? This is the way we can be sure of its preferred environment. So it's not about the height of the plant. We can have grasses that need full sun that are smaller than a tree that needs to be in shade. If we go to the forests that David is from, you get really tall forests, or the forests that Yonna is from. You get really tall trees because it's a colder climate. But then you go to the forest that I'm from, and the eucalypt is the emergent. The eucalypt is about the tallest tree. But a eucalypt in their forest is going to be super short. But so it's not about the height of the tree, it's about the light needs of the tree. So emergent, high, mid, low, ground cover. And then they do it over time. The time might be 2 to 4 weeks. Then up to 3 months. Then up to 6 months. Then up to 1 year. Up to 2. And then like the 5. 15, and then 20, and 40 plus. And this is about figuring out a complex situation for our land. We definitely don't need to plant everything like this. I'm not going to plant a vegetable row like this. We planted garlics and onions in the vegetable row, done. I'm not going to sit there and figure out a consortium. I'm just not there in my designing capacity yet. I don't know that much. if I evolve further and I learn more and I see some amazing winter consortiums, cool, my designs will evolve and change. And playing with this is fun for me, but I can only really do it with trees at the moment. I'm not advanced enough to really understand how to do it with vegetables. So what we've done is we've picked, we've kind of gone up just this end of the design in the tree rows. We've looked at the oaks that are going to last a long time, and the oaks are high, so we can put oaks over here. And so we can go throughout the system, be really low, then they'll start to get up really slow, and they'll start to get up about here. We'll have our oaks, and then we have our emergent eucalyptus. We'll have the eucalyptus hanging around about here, and the eucalyptus will go something about this, and then stop it about here. So we've got the emergent eucalyptus shoots up really fast. Our low and mid trees, we've got pomegranate as a mid. Pomegranate lasts, we're going to get it to last about 15 years to 20. So we've got our mid pomegranate, and then it goes up reasonably fast as well. Have it go up about there. And so it'll sit like this. Our pomegranate will prune, so that it sits down underneath, and then we'll use its wood as the mulch on the ground. And then above it, in one row, we'll have an apple. And the apples are another high. And the apples, generally, they get cut out at about 20 years, often. You can get them to last longer, and in these organic processes, we probably can as well. And the apple go up, and last until about there. And so kind of change spots with the oak at that time, and the oak will start to take up the space. Eventually it'll become oak dominated. It'll be a bit more of an oak forest, unless Christo changes his mind and decides he wants to harvest the oak for wood and plant in some other trees. In syntropic method, there's no problem with taking out trees as long as you plant trees. If you use trees for wood, if you use trees for biomass, it's not bad if you're planting trees and you're doing it with intelligent design. If you're chopping down trees en masse for no reason, well, this is bad. And this is what we do on big scale, and this is why it's bad, because we don't think about it. But I like living in buildings made out of wood. I like using wood. I think it's a beautiful material. Trees and humans have had a relationship for a really long time. They serve an incredible purpose for us in many levels. And we should not be afraid of keeping that relationship with trees, but designing an intelligent relationship with it that's respectful of nature, respectful of the tree, and respectful of us. So in Christos's design, we also designed in some timber trees. So the eucalyptus will come out when it's a good pulp. We'll keep the eucalyptus as an emergent up until, I guess, 10 years, maybe, so they can shelter and look after the pomegranates while the apples get up. And then whilst the apples are getting up, we keep pruning, dropping the eucalyptus. It's pumping water up, and each time we prune the branches of the eucalyptus, it's releasing water into our system. If we don't prune the eucalyptus, it becomes harmful to our trees. So if we plant eucalyptus, it's a deal with the eucalyptus that we're going to chop and drop it. You need to keep chopping and dropping the matter of the eucalyptus so it can thrive and be happy, but also the plants around it can thrive and be happy. If we plant a eucalyptus and we don't maintain it, don't manage it, then it will have a negative effect on the plants around it because of the chemicals that it releases. But the amazing thing about eucalyptus is it goes deep down. It goes deep down. Its roots go deep down into the ground looking for water. So it kind of pioneers loosening the soil for the other trees that are going to come through on its way. The parts of Australia that it comes from is areas where it floods, and then when it's really dry. So it has periods, it can go a long time without water, and then it can be completely flooded, and its roots don't care. It doesn't like good soil, it likes poor soil. So it's one of those really amazing pioneering trees, and there's 800 different species of eucalyptus, ranging from true tropics all the way down to cold Mediterranean / warm temperate. So we could get on Greece, there'd be a eucalyptus for almost anywhere except for maybe the top of the highest mountains. So that's quite a useful tree to know, useful tree to understand, but not the be all and end all, for sure not. There are trees that have much more manageable effects. The only reason I've even attempted trialing the eucalyptus in a syntropic manner is because I know it's a common thing in syntropic farming, eucalyptus, and I know Christos will manage it. If I was planting this for someone I didn't trust as much as Christos, I would be quite worried about planting it, because I know about the effects that it has on other trees. I grew up in a eucalyptus forest, and there are other plants that grow around it, but they've adapted as well. They're adapted to the situations. There are a few trees like this. Walnut is another one. You guys know that walnut, it's difficult to grow other things around a walnut. So they have a similar effect to walnut, but we can be a bit more brutal with pruning these, cutting them back, keeping them in check, keeping them in order. The other trees that we're doing, that's an apple, that's the pomegranate, and we've got the pistachio. And pistachio, even though it gets quite tall, is another, it's like, if you've ever been in the UK and you've seen hazelnuts growing wild, has anyone been in the UK?
Yeah.
And you walk through the woods, you walk through the forest? Have you seen a hazel tree? They grow in the shade. They're like full shade. They're not a canopy tree. It's a hazelnut trees in their natural environment. They're a low, even though they're pretty big trees. And apparently pistachio is as well. I have not seen like an actual fruit-producing pistachio in its forested environment. I only know this from someone who's told me. So if it's true or not, I can't verify with my own information.
I have a question. What does eucalyptus cause to other trees, and how does it affect them?
It's called allelopathy. So allelopathy is like it releases chemicals and stuff that kind of protect it and its kin, its family, and allow it to kind of dominate the system and become the main species. Because if it's in soil that it loves, it goes, okay, I know I'm really fast growing and I'm going to create a lot of biomass really fast, and I could be the best tree for this situation at the moment. So I will encourage more and more of me to grow so that we can upgrade the soil faster and faster, because the other trees around us are a bit too fragile for this situation. So they start to dominate with their chemical compounds they release, and the speed at which they grow and the shade that they create. But if we... Sorry?
Why does the walnut do it?
The walnut, I guess it's a similar reason, but different soil type.
It grows as fast?
No, it does not grow as fast, but it's fruit producing. If the soil's right, then it can spread quite fast and quite quick if the soil is correct.
It's also for poor soil.
No, walnut likes lots of water. It likes about 700 millimeters of water. And they like rich soils. They come from a forest. So it'd be more for the reasons of, in that soil, it'd do that thing.
Okay.
Like when our soil gets fertile enough, like I told you with the avocado story, about how avocados were growing everywhere. We've seen walnuts growing in poor soil because most agricultural soils have been turned into quite poor soils. But in its native environment, it would seed quite freely. it would be able to dominate a system, and you'd get more of a walnut forest.
Okay.
I have another question. Is it possible to plant eucalyptus to make the soil not so compact, and then chop them in the root and use them as timber woods if we don't want to chop and drop them, and let the root
Forget about it.
forget about it and use it as a timber wood or something.
The way
But only if we plant it to plant some other trees to have, right?
so the way we're planting it with Christos is because he's a builder. His father's a builder. I'm encouraging them to leave it about at least 2 meters tall before they start branching it. They start getting it to go like this, and then I'm going to suggest that they do structural pruning, not coppicing or pollarding. That they leave the trunk how it is and prune the top shape so that they let light in when they want to let light in, and they exclude light when they want to exclude light. So the tree. I'll get rid of all this stuff.
That will be good for the soil. And can we prevent the allelopathy with that way?
Yeah, how we prune it is how we're going to prevent allelopathy. So again,
what's the secret about it?
I'll look up Agroforestry Academy. Agroforestry Academy. They've got some syntropic videos in English. And they do a video on the companionship between eucalyptus and vegetables, which blew my mind. The video. They plant the eucalyptus 1 meter apart. They planted the eucalyptus here, eucalyptus here, eucalyptus here. They fit in that row that we planted. They would have fit 90 eucalyptuses.
Wow.
90?
Oh, 90, yeah. Which is,
the distance.
and I'm not that confident. I've seen it work on videos, but I haven't seen it work like that. I've planted a system with eucalyptus that another guy designed, and he planted them about the density that I did. And because I've seen it work, I know it works. I'm like, cool. I'm still worried. I'm still scared of it, but I've done it with more confidence than the Agroforestry Academy guys. They've just gone nuts. And there's no denying the soil it builds. Mushrooms love eucalyptus. You can inoculate their trunks with their wood with mushrooms, no problem. You want shiitake, or you want wood-loving fungi of any kind, reishi, lion's mane, whatever you want to inoculate your logs with. Then you can use eucalyptus wood. It's good. It creates a lot of leaves. It creates a lot of easily composable tip wood, and a lot of slower to decompose wood as well. The video is like vegetables love eucalyptus or something like that. It's about a 15-minute video. So you can have a look at how they prune and what they do there, and what the eucalyptus is doing for the soil in that video. So the way I'm encouraging Christos to prune it is it goes 2+ meters up this way, and then he cuts it here. And then he gets it to branch out like this. And then he'll leave these branches and he can cut above that so that they re-sprout from there. If he cuts that though, then it might re-sprout like this and re-sprout like that. And then he hasn't got a straight pole anymore.
Yeah.
But if he keeps his cut up here and he keeps cutting up there, then he's going to have a straight pole that thickens out a bit over time.
Isn't that pollarding?
No, we call it stag horning. So pollarding would be this, where you do that, you get rid of it all. And coppicing is this, where you do that and you get rid of it all. But if we leave it so that it's got horns, like stag horns I guess, and you cut up here, then it's a different cut.
So either way, we have to prune the eucalyptus.
Yeah, you can't.
Even if we
Yeah,
wanted to make the compact soil more loose, or if we need it for wood, or if we need it for organic matter, we have to.
Yeah, if you want it in a system with other plants, you should prune it.
But if we don't have other plants in the beginning,
I would still prune it to build soil faster. Otherwise, I would plant something else. If I wasn't going to prune it, I would plant something that fixes nitrogen, because eucalyptus does not fix nitrogen. I'd plant something that doesn't get so tall that it gets huge. Eucalyptus gets huge really fast. I'd plant something like some sort of thornless acacia, or I'll plant broom, maybe Glidicia tricanthus, the honey locust.
Yes.
But you'd want to hopefully make sure it was females, because the males can be a bit spiky and hard to deal with.
But they both produce fruit.
No, the females can. I think the males produce like a tiny bit, but the females produce a lot.
Funny enough. Okay.
Yeah, I'd plant something that fixes nitrogen, that produces a lot of biomass, and is a nice tree to hang out with. Especially like in your system, if Christos wants to manage it, so cool. But if you wanted to manage it and you didn't want to go around climbing ladders, chopping eucalyptus, plant something else. Like for sure, I would not suggest eucalyptus for everyone. Eucalyptus is just for Christos at this stage for me. Jeff would never suggest anyone plant eucalyptus.
Yeah.
For sure not. I've been inspired by this guy. He suggests it in almost every situation for farmers, for people that work their ass off.
Sam, ήθελες να πεις κάτι, ναι?
Όχι, μεγάλη.
We haven't, sorry for interrupting, but we haven't mentioned throughout the course anything about mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Are you going to do anything next field?
That can be an evolution when we have logs and stuff, but we don't have freshly cut logs to do mushrooms on. If you're going to do mushrooms, you want logs that were cut like 6 weeks ago maximum, like 6 to 8 weeks ago maximum. You want to do it a bit after they've been cut, so that the tree does, like the logs still release enzymes and things that prevent mushrooms from colonizing it for a couple of weeks, because it's still going through its living function. And then when that stops, you can inoculate it with mushrooms and start to grow it. But we don't have that available here right now. We don't have the dowels, the little pegs that you peg into the wood.
But can they be reliably integrated in such a system? For example,
definitely.
we put the new logs in once, and then they'll keep growing forever.
Yeah. I believe mushroom farming and agroforestry, they go hand in hand like this, because it speeds up the soil, the wood decomposition so fast. You get soil so much faster if you chop and drop and inoculate. You can also do this thing where they have they put mushroom spores in chainsaw oil. So if you're cutting a log, you could be inoculating it with mushrooms as you cut it with a chainsaw, which is pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. You can do it. You just get the spore here, and so you could chop it, and then you release a bit more oil, and then you just do slices into the log, and you let it sit. You make sure there's a bit of extra oil on the log, and you will probably have mushrooms on that.
Otherwise, how do we set this system up?
You've got to do pegs. So you get a drill. You got your log.
All right.
And you drill holes into it. Drill little holes, and then you get a dowel. The dowels look like
Καβίλια. Ένα ξύλινο καρφί. A wooden peg, right?
Yeah, wooden peg. And you put the wooden peg into the thing, and then you seal it with wax. So you can use beeswax or whatever. And you seal it with wax. And then you have to, if you want to be really careful and really sure it's going to produce, then you seal the bigger side of the log with wax. Bigger or the smaller side? It's either the bigger or the smaller side, I can't remember which.
Doesn't matter, okay.
It matters a little bit if you want to be really precise. And you put those in. They have to be inoculated with the mycelium. So you can buy ones that are already inoculated.
The dowels.
The dowels.
Okay, στις καρδίδες.
Yeah, the pegs. So you can buy ones that are already inoculated, or you can buy your own, or you can make your own. That's the cheapest. You can make your own. And you can make them out of your own agroforestry wood. You make your own. You get the mycelium, but you can buy it, and then once you've bought it, you've got it. And you put it in a box with the dowels. They'll eat the dowels, and then you peg them in, put a bit of wax on, peg them in, put a bit of wax on, peg them in, put a bit of wax on. That's you're quite sure that they're going to grow mushrooms then.
And how long will it take?
It takes until the right season. So if you did it now in winter, then you'd have it in probably in autumn. That's general mushroom season, is autumn time. You can have some mushrooms that grow at different times, like plants, but generally, just like summer is generally fruit season, then generally autumn is generally mushroom season. Generally. So for me, if I was to evolve this, I would also do mushrooms as part of the thing, and then again, if we're talking about what we can make money off or what we can get a yield of, mushrooms are for sure right up there with expensive crops. I can suggest a couple of mushrooms for people to use. I just posted a video on Facebook the other day of this guy, for anyone who doesn't know him. I assume a lot of people will. Paul Stamets. He's kind of like the mushroom guru. He's made mushroom farming famous and popular. He's got all these videos like how mushroom farming will save the world and stuff like that. And again, you know, it's debatable, but the techniques that he's put out there are fantastic, wonderful, amazing. He's super inspirational. Another guy is Peter McCoy. Again, amazing, wonderful, huge book. Peter McCoy, Radical Mycology, he calls it. Radical Mycology. And another guy that I can suggest for this sort of